In 41 previous Ontario elections, the New Democrats have only once formed government. They've come second only 3 times. But Andrea Horwath is now running for her 3rd try as the party's leader, and if the polls are to be believed, she's making solid progress. Let's hear from Andrea Horwath, leader of the Ontario New Democratic Party and the candidate for re-election in Hamilton Centre, and we're delighted to welcome you back to TVO tonight.
It is absolutely my pleasure, Steve.
I feel I need to start with this sort of caveat here. There are some viewers who really want me to beat up whatever politician is in that chair. And I should just clarify, I'm going to say this to all the leaders when they come on, I don't see my role as that. My approach is to sort of find out why you and your party have made the decisions you have. So that's the approach we're going to take. And I'm going to begin every interview with every leader the same way, with the same question, which is, Ms. Horwath, what's this election campaign all about?
The election campaign is about the future of Ontario and families and people who live here, their ability to be able to build a good life again. Folks are telling me they're feeling squeezed, they're uncertain about the future, they're uncertain about the future of their children, the next generation. And this election, people are telling me they want to see a change. And the big decision folks have to make is what kind of change we're going to get.
We're going to explore over the next 20 plus minutes why you think you're the change. But I want to be more directly personal for the moment here, which is, as we indicated, your 3rd time as leader. I presume you think you are a better candidate and a better option this time around versus election number 2 or election number 1. Can you tell us how?
Well, you know, it's all about, experience and having have had the opportunity to even spend more time listening to Ontarians and what it is that they're concerned about, what their hopes are, what their dreams are, and how we can, as a government, because that's what I'm running to do, try to address some of the pressures that families are feeling, especially in a time when our economy is in such a flux and uncertainty seems to abound. People are wanting, hope for the future, and that's what we're offering.
Do you think you're smarter now, or what is it? You clearly have more experience than the other 2 at running a general election, but what does that get you actually?
I guess we'll find out on June 7th.
What is it? How do you think it makes you a better option as a result of the added experience that you have?
Well, I mean, I don't know that it's, that it makes me a better option, but certainly I've had a number of years meeting people from around the province. I've had a number of campaigns, and so I know what to expect more or less, although there's all kinds of surprises no matter what during a campaign. But, for me, it's an election that really is about the future direction. I mean, people have been telling me they're tired of the current government. They're disappointed with Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals. They're wanting change. And so that the change that I think people have to look at is what the difference is between what I offer, my vision of the province, and Mr. Ford's vision of the province, frankly. Before we get there, I do want to do some comparing and contrasting between your offerings and the government's offerings. Because I don't know how often I hear it. I mean, darn near every day, I hear people say, we got 2 social democratic parties in Ontario and 1 populist right-wing party. And if we bring this chart up here, we will see there are some similarities. You might say superficial, but there are some similarities between the NDP and the Liberals. You took the words out of my mouth.
Okay, here we go. Well, you've both got a drug and dental coverage plan on offer. You're both offering significant financial breaks for post-secondary students. You're both offering some version of free childcare. You're both purporting to raise taxes on high-income earners. And, I guess the marketing people would call this, is there brand confusion right now in Ontario because you are swimming, in some respects, out of the same pond? Well,
I mean, I think the big difference is Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals have had 15 years to achieve any of these things.
Well, she's only been there for 4. Well, They've been there for 15, she's been there for 4.
Regardless, though, those 4 have been pretty disappointing for folks, which is why they're telling me that they don't want to see Kathleen Wynne in the Premier's chair anymore. And so, I can go through every single one of those and talk about...
Well, just tell us, what's the biggest one? What's the biggest mistake they made?
I was going to go back to the chart and say that I think that it's not accurate to say that the government has a dental plan. They don't. They have a meager rebate for people who, if you're a single person, you get a $400 rebate. If you're a married couple or spouses living together, you get a $600 rebate. And for children, it's a $50 rebate. The biggest barrier to accessing dental care for Ontarians is they don't have the money up front. They don't have the money to go to a dentist. So every 3 minutes, we see somebody trying to access care for pain in their mouth, either at an emergency ward or in a doctor's office. Why? Because they know they don't have to pull out a credit card. They don't have to write a check. I guess that's old-fashioned, writing a check. They don't have to pull out their phone to pay the bill. And so it's not a dental plan, and even their prescription drug plan is not for everyone. It's for people who are under 25 years of age or over 65 years of age. But holy smokes, there's a lot of people in the middle that are either not getting their prescriptions filled or are getting those prescriptions filled and then going home and cutting their pills in half to try to stretch the bottle.
Having said that, they're covering 4,400 drugs, you're covering 125.
Well, the vast majority of those 4,400 drugs would never be prescribed to young people under the age of 25, and the experts will tell you that as well. What we do, though, is provide pharmacare for everyone, and covering about 90% of the drugs that people need, because we're starting with the drugs that are necessary for the most common ailments and the ones that are most commonly prescribed, and as a result, 90% will be covered. And that's just the beginning. And so our initial coverage is the first 125 to 127 drugs, but we'll be adding to that as we go. I mean, I think the other important thing about the whole pharmacare piece is that you shouldn't have to worry about getting the drugs that you're prescribed by your doctor. I mean, you should be able to get those drugs regardless. It's like the missing puzzle piece from our Medicare system for decades now. It should have been in place quite some time ago. And to cut out the people in the middle, if you will, between the ages of 25 and 65 is not going to help us to increase the overall health and well-being of Ontarians. And the other thing I think that's important is that we often talk about ensuring that we're making upstream investments, if you want to call them that, in the healthcare system. If we're not even providing people the opportunity to get well if they are at their doctor's and they need a prescription to get well or to stay well, so drugs for hypertension and things like that, for example, for somebody your age or mine, not that you have hypertension or I do, but I'm just saying these are the kinds of things that help us take pressure off other parts of the healthcare system.
Okay, if there's one area then where your two parties dramatically differ, it's on Hydro One, and I want to pick up on that right now. They, of course, have partially privatized Hydro One. You want to repatriate it and put it 100% back in the public's hands. The Toronto Star has done a lot of good reporting on this, and it is their conclusion that you have dramatically underestimated the cost of doing just that. Why are you right and they wrong?
Well, I mean, first I want to say that there are certainly some people who are benefiting from the privatization of Hydro One who have been critical of our plan, and I understand that. I mean, if they are people who are folks that get a benefit out of this model, then of course they're going to be critical. What we've said is we are going to use the dividends that we still have, which are quite reduced because many of those dividends are a greater proportion of those dividends are of course going to private shareholders, but we still do get a portion of those dividends and we're going to use them to buy back the shares. Now the cost is going to be determined by the share value at any given moment in time, and that will determine how long it takes us. We know it's not going to be easy, and it's certainly not going to be an overnight endeavor. What's
the value of doing it?
The value of doing it is on a number of levels. First and foremost, that utility should have never been sold off in the first place. 80% of Ontarians did not want Kathleen Wynne to sell off Hydro One, and we have lost control over that utility. I mean, we've just saw the board of directors give themselves a $25,000 raise. We see the CEO is making now $6 million a year as the CEO of our public utility, and that's coming out of the ratepayer's pocket, if you will. And there's also a concern around the loss of our opportunity to utilize that utility as a public utility to help us meet climate change goals, for example. In fact, with Kathleen Wynne and Doug Ford, I think it's important to say it's a Ford-Wynne plan. Mr. Ford has the same plan. He's prepared to continue on with what Kathleen Wynne has done to Hydro One. But their plan, it has now allowed Hydro One to start buying up American energy companies that are coal-burning facilities. So if our goal in Ontario was one that we agreed with, and we pushed the government for many years to get rid of coal-fired plants and get rid of coal as part of our electricity mix, we've just bought in. Our partially publicly owned utility has just bought into a coal-burning utility in the States.
So Avista, again, is that what it's called? Avista?
Avista, yeah.
Okay, but having said that, I mean, you went here first. Since you and I are both old enough to remember the days when Ontario Power Generation and Hydro One were one company. It was called Ontario Hydro. It did both generate and distribute electricity, transmit electricity. You know, I recall in the legislature, New Democratic Party oppositions railing against the expenditures of of Ontario Hydro at the time, when it was 100% publicly owned, and there was tons of criticism about the way they did business. Sure. It may just come with the territory. Isn't that fair to say?
Well, I mean, the problem is that that now we have a utility that's got no public oversight whatsoever. At least in the past, we had an auditor general, and we had an ombudsman, and we had all of the, the independent officers of the legislature, who are the watchdogs for the people, being able to uncover what was really going on.
Well, it has market oversight.
But again, I mean, market oversight is for the best interest of the shareholders and the profiteers of Hydro One, not the people and the public interest. And that's the big difference in vision from New Democrats and Liberals and Conservatives. Liberals and Conservatives are happy to privatize our public services. They're happy to sell off our public assets. New Democrats don't believe that that is the best way forward. We believe that keeping our public assets generating benefit for our own families in today's world, as well as saving them for future generations to be able to benefit from, is an important goal.
Okay, I get that, but then if you want to take the money that Hydro One currently provides the government of Ontario as a shareholder, if you want to take those dividends that the government now uses to spend on other programs and use that money to buy back shares, then that means these other programs are either going to have to be cut, or you're going to have to find some money somewhere else in order to pay for them.
No, it's all in our fiscal plan. We've identified that revenue source as being reduced in our fiscal plan that's attached to our platform. And in fact, what Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals have done, and what Mr. Ford agrees with, is taking the bulk of those dividends out of the benefit of the public and is giving them to private interests, because that's what's happened now. I mean, we used to have about $700 million annually in revenues from Hydro One, and now it's around $300 million, so significantly less, and that has challenged our government in the past ability to provide the kind of services people want. I mean, we have hallway medicine in Ontario after 15 years with the Liberals. We have education, our education system that's been cut. We have young children who are unable to get the mental health services that they need. There are some 12,000 kids on the wait list for mental health services for over a year. These are things that can be fixed. And so our plan not only deals with bringing Hydro One back into public ownership, getting bills down, and we have a number of ways to do that. And again, I mean, people need to take a hard look at what's going to happen. And again, you mentioned the Toronto Star. They've also indicated in one of their pieces that the plan that Kathleen Wynne and Doug Ford are in favor of is going to increase electricity bills by about 70% within the next couple of years. Folks can't afford their electricity bills now. A 70% increase over the next couple of years is certainly something that folks are not going to be able to handle, nor will our small businesses or industries be able to handle it.
Okay. Let's go to Board 3 on healthcare. And here's what the NDP has on offer in this campaign. They want to spend $20.7 billion over 4 years for 2,000 additional hospital beds, new hospitals and more staff. You heard her talk about the pharmacare plan covering 125 of the most commonly prescribed drugs for everyone, as opposed to just under 25s and over 65s. And you heard Andrea Horwath as well talk about a public dental care plan for everyone. I want to focus on the hallway medicine part for starters here, because that's something you've brought up on a very regular basis in the legislature.
For a couple of years now.
Indeed, indeed. I suspect the public thinks this is too big a problem for any particular party to solve, because it's just so big, vast, and complicated. Is that not the case?
Well, it's not very complicated when you think of the fact that the reason we have hallway medicine is because the Liberals froze hospital budgets for 4 years running, and then for another 5 years, they reduced the funding to hospitals to below inflationary levels. And so if a hospital is not even getting funded to cover the inflationary pressures, they have to find cuts.
Okay,
and so
but they've
been cutting for about 9 years.
In the last budget, they put $800 million plus back into hospitals.
And they shorted the ask of the Ontario Hospital Association by about $300 million. So again, they've not kept up with the levels of funding that they should have kept up with. Yes, it's put hospitals into crisis, but what does that look like? I mean, that means people are stuck in gurneys or stretchers in hallways in hospitals around the province. No dignity, no privacy, no nurse call bell, no washroom facilities. I mean, nobody wants to be in that position, and nobody wants their loved ones to be in that situation. And so these are some of the things that we're committed to fixing. I absolutely don't believe it needs to be this way, and I absolutely do believe we can fix it. It's
Over what period of time?
It's going to. Well, we're going to start with the beds. We're going to start with a moratorium on any further layoffs of frontline staff until we can get a handle on the kind of modern human resources needs for the hospital sector. We're going to fund the hospitals at the 5.3% each and every year for the next 4 years. That means about $1.2 billion in the first year. And we're going to look at the other piece of the problem, which is alternative level of care patients. So we have a significant investment in the building of new long-term care beds, but we also know that long-term care is in crisis as well. I mean, people are telling horror stories about what they see when they go to visit their loved ones, their senior citizens, very, very vulnerable people who, you arrive at the long-term care facility, the nursing home, and there's unexplained bruises on your loved one, perhaps there's a broken bone, perhaps they've been sent to hospital and you weren't even notified, and you get there and your loved one isn't even at the home. These are things that people are dealing with day in and day out.
And I want to be clear, am I hearing you say there will be no hallway medicine by the end of a first term of an NDP government?
We are going to get rid of hallway medicine by the end of the first term of an NDP government. And we're going to do it by not only funding hospitals properly, but by making sure that our long-term care system is operating properly, that we're getting more beds, and also 4 hours of hands-on care for every resident.
Well, this raises the next question, which is, you've made a number of commitments here, and I know they are costed in your program, and I know Kevin Page, the former parliamentary budget officer from Ottawa, has signed off on it, saying
you do your homework.
It's reasonable. Well, I read the platform, so, it's all in there, and he says it's reasonable, and he's the gold standard on this kind of stuff. Having said that, it's a reasonable question to ask how you're going to pay for all this, and I know you're going to go into deficit to pay for some of it. You are proposing corporate tax hikes for next fiscal year from 11.5% to 12.5%, and then from 2021 to 2022, 12.5% to 13%. Here's the question. So many people in Ontario have come to believe, I think, that the NDP's Achilles heel is that your appetite for spending is bigger than your appetite for balancing budgets. And for people who are worried about incurring more debt, and we're already at $300 billion plus in debt, why should we vote for you?
Well, the other side of that picture is the way that families are struggling to make ends meet. And so we right now have in Ontario where families can't afford childcare, they can't afford rent, they can't afford to buy a house, they can't get their dental work done. It's been tough on families. After over 20 years now of Conservatives and Liberals, people are feeling the squeeze. So our primary goal is to make life better for families first. That's the first priority. And you'll see from our fiscal plan that in year 4 and 5, we start trending downwards. I think in year 5, our deficit projection is $1.9 billion, and that's going to take us on a path down in the next couple of years to balance. So we will get to balance, but we want to make sure that families are feeling secure about the future and hopeful that they can start enjoying life in our province again and feeling like they are going to be able to get ahead. Because for a long time now, folks have been feeling the opposite. So the priority is going to be on people and families. And yes, we will get to the deficit reduction. But I think when we look at the big picture, we believe that families who do well, who are able to afford a good life here, will be spending more money in the economy as well, and that'll be a positive thing. But they've told us that they're not happy with the healthcare system. They've told us that they're worried about the long-term care system not being there for them or their loved ones the way that it should be. Mm-hmm. They've told us they want Hydro One back in public hands and they want the bills lower. So the difference between our plan, though, and let's say the Liberal plan, the Liberal budget that they tabled, is that we're not afraid to ask the wealthiest amongst us to kick in a little bit more to help us pay for it. In fact, our plan is much more fiscally responsible than the Liberal plan because we actually provide revenue sources, including the taxes that we talked about and that were on the chart, including a luxury tax on cars over 90,000, for example, and other various pieces that help us to have a more responsible fiscal framework.
Fair enough. You know, of course, there's a great dispute between the Auditor General and the Liberal government as to whose numbers are right. You're going with the Liberal government's numbers for your spending plans. Do you commit here today to fulfill the request of the Auditor General and use her numbers next time out?
Well, what I can tell you is that I won't be having battles with the independent officers. I respect those folks, and I will work closely with them to make sure that the people of Ontario have a clear understanding of what the government's numbers are all about. All three of the parties are kind of starting at the same point, if you will, with what the Liberal government has left us. But I can tell you I am not going to be, like Kathleen Wynne, hiring my own auditors, because I don't believe the independent Auditor General, nor am I going to be like Mr. Ford, who's going to bring in his own auditors to audit the audit. All of that is unnecessary when we know that we have these experts in place who are nonpartisan and whose only interest is in letting the public know what's really going on.
So if the auditor says to you, your plan may say that it's a $1.9 billion deficit in year 4 because you're going on the Liberals' numbers, I'm here to tell you it's actually 3 times bigger. You going to go with her numbers?
Well, I mean, this is exactly what we need to do is we need to listen to the Auditor General and pay attention to what she has to say. And as I said, all three parties are kind of lifting off from the same launch pad,
but you're not committing to using her numbers.
Well, I mean, yes, I am. I mean, what I'm saying is I will work with the Auditor General and with the FAO and with all of the other independent officers, because their job is to debunk some of the things that government's claiming in the interest of transparency for the public.
Okay. Time flies when you're having fun, and we're literally down to our last couple of minutes here. And I want to ask you a very predictable question, if you don't mind, which is, and this comes up, frankly, every election since 1995, which is the last time the NDP were in power. Admittedly, it was the worst recession since the Great Depression. It was an extremely difficult time economically for the province, and it didn't end well for the NDP government of the day, one term and out. How much, in your view, of an albatross is that still around your neck?
Well, it's a different time, Steve. It's 2018. People have been sorely disappointed with Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals. They're looking for change this time around, is what they're telling me. And what they want to see is change that makes life better for them. So, there's no doubt that that was a time in 1990, I guess, to 1995, but it's not the same now. And I'm not Bob Ray. I'm Andrea Horwath. And so I'm quite excited about being able to tell people, or to show people, more importantly, that things don't have to be the same as they've been for a very long time.
I hear you. Do you worry that Doug Ford presents a different challenge to you, in as much as the NDP used to get a good chunk of that sort of anti-establishment, angry, populist vote, if you like? You got your share of that over the many, many decades, and he's getting a lot of that vote right now. How big a challenge does that pose for you to get into the Premier's office?
Well, I think this is the big crux of the issue for people. And what I'm saying to Ontarians is you don't have to vote out of anger or fear. You can actually vote for a hopeful platform that provides a kind of change that will make life better for families. And I know that's our slogan, as you know, change for the better. But this is really the question that people need to answer. What does change for the better look like? And if it looks like just voting out of anger or fear, then you're really not going to get a hopeful future and a platform that actually starts to address the challenges that people are facing.
Andrea Horwath, leader of the NDP, we are grateful to you for coming into TVO tonight and taking our questions. As I will say to all the leaders, stay safe on the campaign trail, and we look forward to the results on the 7th of June.
My pleasure. Thanks, Steve.
I should also say parenthetically that the leader of the Green Party, Mike Schreiner, is going to be in that chair next week, and we have extended invitations to all the party leaders, and we look forward to having them in that chair that Andrea Horwath is now in. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.